All right, today we're going to take a look at understanding Bitcoin indicators, and this will help you make the most informed decision when to buy and the like. And we're going to use bitbo.io. They've got some really great tools, and they've got a ton of them. What we're going to do is we're going to look at my 9 favorite, and those are going to cover everything from market sentiment to where we are in the cycle, tops, floors, and then ultimately value. And so we're going to go through these one by one, and I'm going to end with my very favorite one of all. But why don't we jump right in? I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to take a look at what some of these tools look like and how do we use them as best we can. So a lot of resources out there today. We're just going to focus on what Bitbo offers. These are all free tools that you can get a lot of value from. So all right, let's dive in. So first what we're going to start with is market sentiment, okay? And this is the fear and greed index for Bitcoin from 0 to 100. And as you can see here, there has been quite a range in market sentiment over the years. You can see here we've gotten as low as 10, but this is back in 2018. Since then, even since 2020, let's go there because that was the most recent crash. We got all the way down to a market sentiment of about 8 or 9. So we have gotten into single digit, but you can see here, really since then, we've been staying really strong. You can see even during the FTX crash, we were in the low 20s, but pretty strong sentiment and continues to grow over time. So you might be asking, okay, cool, what is market sentiment? Well, this is a resource that was put together, and this is the nice thing with Bitbo is you can go down here and you can read a little bit more about what each of these offer. Ultimately, one of them is looking at volatility. The other one's market momentum, and really it's kind of a volume play, right? But this is where it gets interesting. They take into consideration social media. So again, the more people are talking about Bitcoin, and you can see it in the news right now, a lot of people are talking about it. It means that there's going to be a higher sentiment and likely more greed in the market, right? The other thing is when it comes to dominance, Bitcoin dominance really is the ratio of how much money is going into Bitcoin versus altcoins. And what you're going to see is when the market, it's kind of inverse. So when the market doesn't really know and it's a weak crypto market, what will happen is people are going to go towards the safest one that they know, and everybody knows Bitcoin's the best and the safest. So they're going to go there. Now, when we start getting into something called alt season, which a lot of people are talking about, what that means is what is it saying? A rising tide raises all ships. Meaning, when Bitcoin's going on a run and we're in a bull market, everything else is going to get buoyed up by it. Now, what you're going to see is some of these things, because the market caps are so low, when money starts flooding into these, people are going to try and make a quick buck, and you can have 100,000x returns. You got to time those. You got to know when to get out. There's rug pulls. There's all sorts of crazy stuff. Bitcoin's going to go up. It's going to grow up dramatically, but there's other ones that can go up quite a bit more with a tremendous amount more of risk. Those are options. When that is the case, that means there's a lot more greed in the market, right? Then you can look at trends, and maybe we'll take a look at this at a different time. Take a look at the Bitcoin Google search, and you can see the popularity over time. And then there's surveys and stuff they do. So this one takes in not just quantitative information, but it looks at the sentiment of the overall market, what's going on in social media. People are buying altcoins. So this will kind of give you an idea. And there's apps out there that you can just take a look at, and you can get notifications at any point in time. But this will kind of give you a feel for how greedy the market is and whether you should buy heavy or maybe just do your regular dollar cost averaging. Yearly candles. This one's pretty simple, and it tells a pretty clear story to me. And let's take a look at this. We talked about the Bitcoin halving, okay, and the 4-year cycle. Well, there might be a little pattern here, right? So let's just start here. We got a green candle, a green candle, a green candle, 3 green candles, 1 red. 1, 2, 3 green candles, a red candle. 1, 2, 3 green candles, a red candle. Okay. Now people always talk about volatility, but keep in mind, look at where these red candles are. Yeah, these are big drawdowns sometimes, but guess what? This one's a heck of a lot higher than this last one, and this one's still higher than the previous one. So just keep this in mind. There might be volatility, but if something's going crazy but it keeps going up like that, fine. So be it. You have to have the volatility to get those big jumps in price, and there'll be corrections along the way. So what does this tell us? 2023, green. 2024, green. 2025, I expect to be a nice big green one, okay? 2026, be careful, be ready. That's likely when we're going to go into a bear market, okay? Just keep that in mind. All right, next one. Bitcoin halving progress. What they've done here is they've taken a look at the Bitcoin halving, and after about 16.3% of the way through that 4-year cycle is when things really start to kick off into the bull market. You can see that here, right? Now, what I want you to do, this comes back to an indicator of telling us, are we truly in the bull market? Is there still room for Bitcoin to climb higher than 100,000, or if we capped it off? Is this as good as it gets? Based on these indicators, you can see here the really crazy straight line up, the hockey stick up parts usually happen afterwards. Now this one's a little different, this past one, but still we had a nice little run up, okay? Where are we today? We are just, you can see, just getting into the good stuff here. And I expect over the next 6 to 12 months, there's going to be a lot more price action going on there. We are still early start of the bull run. All right, Bitcoin Mayer multiple. We'll jump down here. The Mayer multiple, blah, blah, blah. The Mayer multiple is the current Bitcoin price over the 200-day moving average, and then they plot that out, okay? Ultimately, what they've done is they have taken a look at these multiples and have said, based on their recommendation, is that whenever the Mayer multiple is below 2.4, that's a good time to buy. Now, what does that tell me? Here's 2.4. Well, the majority of the time, Bitcoin operates below that 2.4 level. Again, none of this is financial advice. This is just educational. It operates in a time to buy. Dollar cost averaging is a great approach because most of the time it is very beneficial to purchase. Now, what this might tell you is when things are starting to heat up, as you can see here, in the past we've spent more time above that multiple, but as we've gone through these cycles, they become more efficient. And you can see here that we have spent less and less time above these. So it tells us two things. One is when we might be getting to a peak, okay? The other thing is that this might tell you if you're dollar cost averaging on a regular basis, maybe you slow down, you pull back on the amount, or you just stop altogether when we get above these lines. That's another strategy you can take into consideration as well. So where are we in the cycle? Well, take a look right here. We have not we still got plenty of runway to get around that 2.4 multiple. And so there's more good stuff to come, okay? We'll just put it that way. And this just goes back to reinforce that we're still in the start of that bull cycle. All right, let's move on to the pi cycle top. Pi meaning 3.14, blah, 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 right? Ultimately, what we're looking at here is an overlay of Bitcoin price and then the moving average over the last 111 days. So shorter term price action, okay? And then we're looking at the 350-day moving average times 2. All right, now, what we look at here is when these cross over. So whenever the long term and the short term start to cross, what that's going to tell us is that we're starting to get around a top. So you can see here, crosses over. That was a top. Now you see this nice little gap in between here. We start getting tighter. All right, right here they cross over. Guess what? We got to a top. And then we've got some gap here, and all of a sudden they cross over. And you can see they usually cross over a little bit after we've reached it, right around where we reach a top, or shortly after is when this happens. This one here, you can see we got kind of that double top going there. Ultimately, when these cross over, be ready. That means we're starting to near or we're at the top. Look at this. We've still got a gap to go between the long-term and the short-term moving average. Again, more price action to the upside right now. All right, the MVRV Z-Score. All right, for this one, let's take a look. Ultimately, what this is going to do is this is going to tell us the ratio. What it does, it really just tells you the bands that Bitcoin typically operates in. Okay, so right here in this area is the typical price action. When things start to heat up, that's when we start to get into these red zones. And when these are on fire sale, or they're very good time to buy, maybe do some larger purchasing at that point in time. This is just going to kind of tell you where are we relative to where Bitcoin usually trades. And then again, where are we in the cycle right now? You can see here we got plenty of upside until we start getting into the red zone again. Okay, all very positive signs right now. Bitcoin never look back. I like this one. What this says is that this is the price in which Bitcoin has reached and has never dropped below ever again. Okay, and what can you see here? It keeps climbing higher and higher and chugging along. Okay, so you can see here back in the previous cycle, yeah, it dumped to 3,000. Okay, then we got to, this is FTX. We've never dropped below that 15. Remember, we talked about in the past that 15 is somewhat close. I know it's not quite around that 19 or 20 from the previous top, but if we go all the way out to here, recently, since March of 2016, earlier this year, Bitcoin has not dropped below $54,000. And I don't expect it to do that anytime soon, and it may not ever again. Okay, so what we're going to take a look at here is this has been established. You can see how there's these this price action up, and then there's these longer times that these prices have stayed there. That typically is showing that it's solidifying those bottoms. So if we are in these zones right here, we can still see pullbacks. That's still questionable. But when you get these real long times that we've stayed there, that's really solidifying these price points. And you can almost argue that at 53, we've spent a good 6 months there. That's starting to solidify 53 as we may never see Bitcoin below 53,000 ever again. I've made predictions based on the cycle of the previous high creating the next floor of 69,000, and guess what? We are sitting. I mean, right now it's at that 96, right? So there's going to be pullbacks because we're still in this range. But I think we could. You could see here there was an established price of that 69 at some point. I think that could create a longer term floor as well. Ultimately, the message is stick with Bitcoin for a long term, and you're going to get the benefits because it's not showing any signs of dropping below any of these numbers anytime soon. Okay. All right. The Bitcoin rainbow chart. This is a really cool one. This is a logarithmic chart of Bitcoin over time. And really what they're doing is they're indicating the price in white and then Bitcoin's dead, fire sale, buy, etc. So one way that you can use this is kind of get a feel for the dips, and it might let you know. Actually, let me refresh this. It might be a good indicator of when to buy, or maybe you get a little more sophisticated with your dollar cost averaging, and you scale it up and down based on how much you are investing, whether it's on a daily, monthly, weekly basis, whatever it is. So here, let me do this. Let's pan this over here, and then we're going to zoom in. So right now, pan. Where are we in the cycle? You can see here, this is in the accumulate zone. And even when we get to, let's say, the $150,000 mark, it's still relatively cheap. Okay. Now, when we were playing in these ranges of that 52, again, the interesting part here is that 52 we just looked at is Bitcoin likely could never go below 52,000 again. So absolutely, this does prove that this was a great price. It's a fire sale. Okay, it's a great time to load up and accumulate Bitcoin. All right, and so this just lets you know, again, when the market starts getting overheated. You can see here in these tops, when we start getting into, is this a bubble? Well, guess what? Maybe that's time for a little correction. We zoom back again. We've gotten as high in previous cycles as max bubble, and we've even gone above the chart, right? Um, I personally, if we go back to my price predictions of about what 230 is what I kind of said in, what was that, September, let's just say October of 25, 230. I mean, or 265, between 265 and 300 was the price that I was giving. Yeah, in October. That's right. So I said about 265. You can see here around 265 to, I said 300 is where I think we're going to be. Now, if we go back to previous cycles, I mean, we got above those marks, so we could be even higher. But this is just another way to know the value of where the stock market is and if there's a sale going on or not. Okay, last one. I love this one. The Bitcoin power law. Talked about it in the past. Ultimately, there's a support band and a resistance band. And again, this is a logarithmic. And then there is a linear regression fit along the line as well. And you can see here there's price predictions right now all the way out until about 2040. This says 2039. Yeah, the end of 2039. Anywhere from 1.6 million to the floor, about 4.5 million, and then 10 million at the peak. Guys, if this stays true, which historically, I guess, again, past results are not indicative of future results, but guess what? This is kind of promising here. Just ride this along here. You know, $500,000 as the floor in 10 years. Pretty cool. Again, if we get to any of these points where we're just shy of in October, like I mentioned in the past, just shy of there. I mean, we're back at that 265, 300 range. It could go a lot higher, but this is going to give you confidence of what the floor is and what the potential upside is as well. That's bitbo.io. All of these charts are free. I really enjoy them. I use Bitcoin long-term power law when I'm doing future projections. I really like that one. I do like the rainbow chart. I'll scale up and down dollar cost averaging, just depending on where we are in this cycle, so that I've got some dry powder still ready for when we start getting into the fire sale or the Bitcoin dead spot. Bitcoin's dead. So make some strategic purchases there. And then the rest of these are all really good as well. This Pi Cycle one, I'm going to keep a close eye on for when things start getting heated up, so we know when the top of the market's coming. And then last one I'll just say is strategically be ready for a bear market in 2026. Go ahead, go grab these. Like and subscribe below. Play around with them. The more you can educate, the more you can buy Bitcoin at an advantageous price. Go out and enjoy and play around with some of these great tools.